The night he waited alone. The sky over the city turned grey, heavy with clouds that looked like they had been holding in tears for too long. Rain began to fall, first in tiny drops, then faster, harder, like the world itself couldn't stay quiet anymore. People rushed to take shelter. Umbrellas popped open. Taxis sped past puddles without slowing down. But on the corner of a quiet street, a man stood still in the downpour. He wore a simple black jacket, soaked through. Water dripped from his hair, his face, his hands. It was Keanu Reeves. He didn't care about the cold. He didn't care about being wet. He just stood there, eyes fixed on a door that hadn't opened in hours. He had been there since sunset, and now it was close to midnight. The restaurant behind him had closed. The staff had left. The lights inside were off. But he stayed, unmoving, as if something was still left to happen. Inside his coat pocket was a folded note. The paper had softened from the dampness, but the words written on it were burned into his mind. "I'll be late. But please wait. I need to talk." It was from Ana de Armas. They had worked on a film together 2 years ago. At first they were just co-stars. Then they became friends. Real friends. The kind who sit together in silence and still feel safe. The kind who ask deep questions and give honest answers. The kind who don't need anything from each other but truth. But something had changed. Not just between them, but around them. People started talking. The media pushed stories. Fans made up things. Somewhere in all the noise, their friendship began to crack. Misunderstandings piled up. Calls went unanswered. Messages were seen but not replied to. They hadn't spoken in months. Then, out of nowhere, she texted him. The message was short but clear. "I'll be late, but please wait. I need to talk." No details. No explanation. But he came anyway. As the hours dragged on, memories returned. He remembered how she once brought him soup when he had a fever on set. He remembered the way she laughed at his bad guitar playing. He remembered her eyes, how they always held something deeper, something unsure, like she carried stories she hadn't told anyone yet. He didn't know why she had reached out. Maybe it was an apology. Maybe a goodbye. Maybe nothing at all. But he had promised himself one thing. If she ever reached out again, he would show up. No matter what. A car passed. It wasn't hers. He looked down the street again. The rain blurred his vision, but he didn't wipe his eyes. He was used to waiting. Life had made him patient. He had waited for roles that never came. Waited in hospital rooms. Waited for peace to return after losing people he loved. Waiting had become a quiet strength in him. A small dog walked by, its fur dripping. Keanu knelt and gave it a piece of granola from his pocket. The dog wagged its tail once before running off into the shadows. The city felt lonelier than usual, even for him. Then, without warning, he heard a car engine slow down. His heart skipped. The headlights cut through the rain. A black car pulled up slowly to the curb. The back door opened and she stepped out. Ana de Armas. She was wearing a long coat, her hair tied back, strands clinging to her cheek from the rain. She looked like she hadn't slept. She looked like she'd been crying. She didn't run to him. She didn't speak right away. She just stood there, the same way he had stood for hours. They looked at each other. The noise of the rain fell between them like a wall. Then he took a step forward. Just one. And he said nothing. Anna opened her mouth, but her voice trembled. "You're still here." He gave a soft smile. "You asked me to wait." Her eyes filled with tears. He gently reached into his pocket and pulled out the now damp note she had sent him. He handed it to her. She stared at it, then at him. Her hands trembled as she took it. "I didn't think you would," she whispered. "I always would," he replied. The words were simple, but something about the way he said them, so calm, so certain, broke the silence between them. She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she stepped closer. The distance between them disappeared. "I thought I had lost your trust," she said. "You never did," he said. The rain kept falling, but they stood there together now. No umbrella, no walls, just two souls who had been lost in the noise, now finally hearing each other again. The door behind them stayed closed. The city kept rushing. But on that corner, something real happened. Something quiet and powerful. Ana looked up at him, tears mixing with rain on her face. "Keanu, I didn't just ask you to wait because I needed to talk." He tilted his head gently, listening. "I needed to know if you still saw me. Not the actress, not the rumors, just me." He reached out, and for the first time in a long time, he touched her hand. His voice was soft. "I never stopped seeing you." Ana froze. Her lips parted slightly. Her breath hitched, and then came the whisper. The one sentence that made her eyes widen, her heart race, and her soul go quiet. He leaned closer and said, "I was never waiting for a conversation. I was waiting for you." Memories we never said aloud. Ana didn't answer right away. She looked at him as if seeing something she had forgotten, something gentle, something that didn't ask her to be perfect. The rain softened now, falling in thin lines, as if the sky had calmed just to listen to them. Their hands stayed connected, not tightly, but enough to remind them they weren't alone anymore. Keanu slowly led her toward the small shelter under an old building awning nearby. The concrete was cracked. The bricks behind them were wet, but for now it was their quiet corner of the world. They sat down beside each other on the cold stone steps. Ana pulled her coat tighter. Keanu reached into his jacket and handed her a small cloth. It was old, folded neatly but dry. She wiped her face and gave him a soft smile. "You always carry things like this?" she asked, her voice low. "You never know when someone might need it," he said. She laughed quietly. "You haven't changed." "You have," he replied, not in judgment, but in wonder. Ana looked down at her hands. Her fingers played with the folded edge of the note she had given him. "You know, when I sent that message, I almost erased it. I kept thinking, what if he doesn't reply? What if he's moved on? And what if I didn't?" he asked gently. She paused. "I wasn't ready to know." Keanu's eyes searched hers. "What happened, Ana? We stopped talking, and I kept wondering if I had hurt you without knowing." She breathed in sharply, her eyes blinking fast. "No, you didn't hurt me. I did it to myself. I let people's words get into my head, the gossip, the pressure. It felt like I had to become someone else, more charming, more mysterious, more perfect. I was afraid that if you saw me the way I truly was, just tired, messy, full of doubts, you'd walk away." He listened, silent and still. Not once did he interrupt. "Then I saw pictures of you," she continued, her voice shaking. "Helping. That old man at the station. Holding your friend's child like she was your own. Sitting alone on a park bench, feeding pigeons. I kept wondering, how could someone so famous still be so human?" Keanu looked away for a second, eyes on the wet street. "Maybe because fame never saved me. People did." Ana tilted her head. "Who?" "My mother," he said. "She taught me that stillness is strength. My sister, when she was sick, she showed me how to smile through pain. And friends, people who didn't care about the spotlight. People like you." Her breath caught in her throat. "When we were filming," Keanu said slowly, "I used to look forward to the end of each day, not because of the rap call, but because you'd sit beside me in the makeup trailer and ask how my soul was. No one ever asked that before." Ana looked at him, tears in her eyes. "I meant it. Every time." A silence followed. Not awkward, not forced, just full. Full of what they hadn't said, full of time they couldn't rewind, full of questions that didn't need answers anymore. Then Ana whispered, "I'm scared, Keanu." "Of what?" "Of letting someone in again," she said. "Of trusting too much, needing too much. Of being seen, and still not being enough." He reached for her hand again, held it gently. "You don't have to be anything more than you are. I've known the real you." And I stayed. She shook her head, overcome. "Why? Why do you stay when the world only ever takes from people like you?" "Because not everyone takes," he said softly. "Some people give, and those are the people I wait for." Her tears fell freely now, not from sadness, but from the kind of relief that comes when someone finally understands you without needing an explanation. A horn honked far away. A cat ran across the alley behind them. But their world stayed still. Ana leaned against his shoulder. He let her rest there, his arm lightly around her. He didn't move, didn't speak. He knew that sometimes silence was the only medicine that worked. After some time she asked, "Do you believe people can start over?" He nodded. "Every sunrise is proof." "Then can we?" she asked. "Can we go back to who we were?" "Before the noise?" Keanu smiled. "Maybe not back, but forward. Into something even more real." Ana looked up at him. Her eyes, though tired, glowed with a kind of hope she hadn't let herself feel in months. "You know," she said slowly, "when you whispered that sentence earlier, something shifted inside me." He looked at her, patient. "It was the first time in a long time," she said, "that I believed someone would choose me, not the version of me the world expects, but me." Keanu touched her hair lightly. "I choose you, Ana. Without cameras, without scripts. Just as you are." She closed her eyes, pressing her forehead gently against his. The rain had stopped completely now. The streetlights above them flickered. The world seemed to pause for just a moment longer, and somewhere, without either of them knowing it, a new chapter had already begun. A table for 200 unsaid things. The morning sun broke gently over the city skyline, warming the cold streets that had been soaked by last night's rain. Steam curled up from the sidewalks. People moved around with purpose again, chasing trains, sipping coffee, answering phones. Life had resumed its rush, but in a quiet corner cafe tucked away behind a row of bookshops, the world moved slower. There, at a small table near the window, Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas sat facing each other. No one else in the cafe recognized them. Or maybe they did, but chose not to interrupt. Either way, the moment belonged only to them. Keanu stirred, his tea slowly, his fingers wrapped around the warm cup. Ana held hers without drinking, just letting the heat seep into her palms. Both of them were dressed simply. No stylists, no cameras. Just worn jackets and soft eyes. They hadn't spoken much since the night before. After the rain stopped, Ana had asked if he wanted to meet in the morning. He had said yes without hesitation. Now they were here, surrounded by the clinking of mugs, the smell of fresh bread, and the quiet music playing in the background. "You look more rested," Keanu said, finally breaking the silence. "I slept for 3 hours." She smiled weakly, but it felt like 10. He nodded. "Peace does that." Ana looked down at the table, her fingers tracing the edge of the plate. "Do you think it's too late to fix something that's been broken for so long?" "It depends," Keanu said. "Sometimes the cracks let the light in." Her eyes lifted to meet his, and in them was a question she hadn't dared ask for months. He didn't need her to say it. He already understood. "You don't have to prove anything to me," he said gently. "You're not broken, just tired. Anna's lip trembled. I don't know how to come back to myself. The noise, it gets in my head. Everyone wants something, an answer, a smile, a perfect version of me. Sometimes I don't even know which version is real. Then stop searching. Outside, he said. The real you is the one who cried in the rain and said she was scared. The one who asked me to wait. That's more real than any magazine cover. A waiter approached quietly and placed 2 plates on the table. Simple food. Toast, fruit, and warm eggs. Ana thanked him softly, then turned back to Keanu. Do you ever wish you were just invisible? She asked. He thought for a moment. Not invisible, but unseen by the wrong eyes. Ana looked outside the window. A mother and child passed by. The boy laughed as he skipped ahead, holding a small blue balloon. For a moment, her lips curved into a genuine smile. I miss being that free, she whispered. You still can be, Keanu replied. Freedom isn't about what people see. It's about what you choose to carry. She stared at him, and something shifted again. You always talk like that, she said, half laughing. Like your heart is a library. He chuckled. Maybe it's just full of overdue pages. They both laughed then. Really laughed. The kind of laugh that softens pain and breaks tension. A few people in the cafe looked over and smiled, without knowing why. Ana picked up her fork. Can I tell you something? Always, he said. When we were on set, she began, and everything around us was chaos. You were the only person who noticed when I disappeared for a moment. No one else ever noticed when I needed air. But you did. Because I knew the look, he said. I've worn it before. Ana's eyes filled with warmth. It meant a lot to me. Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper, folded carefully. I kept this, he said. It's the note you wrote to me when you left a scarf on my chair. Remember? She gasped. I thought you'd forget about that. You wrote, thank you for being the only calm in the storm. I never forgot. That. Because the storm wasn't just around us. It was inside me, too. Ana leaned forward, tears brimming again. Then maybe we were saving each other all along. Keanu looked down, then up again. Maybe we still are. Outside, the day grew brighter. But inside that small cafe, it was already shining. Not because of grand confessions or dramatic gestures, but because of quiet understanding and shared stillness and truth spoken without fear. They finished breakfast slowly, talking about old memories, shared scenes, inside jokes from the film set. They remembered a time when things were simpler, before fame got louder, before trust got harder, before silence became the only safe place. And then, just as they stood to leave, Ana reached out and took his hand. I want to start over, she said. Not because I need you, but because I want you. In my life. However that looks. Even if it's just as someone who reminds me who I am. Keanu squeezed her hand softly. Then let's begin with one promise. No masks, no walls. Just us. Honest and human. Ana nodded, and with that they walked out together, hand in hand, into the sunlight. Not sure where they were going, but finally ready to go there together. The storm they didn't expect, days passed. Slowly, gently. Like the calm breath after a long cry. Keanu and Ana kept meeting. Sometimes at the old bookstore downtown. Sometimes in the little park with the silent trees. No cameras, no makeup. Just two souls remembering what it felt like to be understood. They didn't call it love. Not yet. But something was growing, quietly, steadily. It didn't need a name. It just needed space to breathe. But peace doesn't last forever. Not in their world, on a Thursday afternoon. The storm hit. It began with a photo. Someone had taken it from a distance. Keanu and Ana walking side by side, smiling. The next day, another photo appeared. Ana resting her head on his shoulder while they sat on a park bench. The internet did the rest. Within hours, rumors exploded. Headlines screamed. Back together? Secret dates? Keanu's new romance. They didn't even get the story wrong. They created a new one altogether. Ana's phone buzzed nonstop. Her name trended on every platform. People she hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered her number. Agents. Producers. Journalists. Everyone wanted a piece. And Keanu? He remained calm on the outside, but inside he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Guilt. Guilt that his presence had once again made someone he cared about a target. That evening she called him. Her voice was tight. Not angry, but afraid. "Can we meet?" she asked. "I'm already on my way," he said. They met at the rooftop of an old hotel, a quiet place they had once used for script reading during a film shoot. Now it was just the two of them, above the noise, but not untouched by it. Ana stood near the edge, arms crossed, her face pale under the city lights. She didn't speak as he approached. She just looked at him, eyes full of questions, eyes full of fear. "They've twisted everything," she said finally. He nodded. "They always do. My agent wants me to make a statement, deny everything, say it was a coincidence." "And what do you want to say?" he asked softly. She turned away. "I don't know." "Do you regret this?" he asked after a pause. She turned back to him sharply. "No, never. I didn't expect it to come so fast. I barely know what we're becoming, and now the whole world thinks they do." Keanu stepped closer. "We don't owe them answers." Ana looked down. "But it feels like we do." He took her hand gently. "Look at me." She did. "The world will always shout," he said. "They'll always write stories they don't understand. But you and I, we don't need to shout back. We just need to hold on to the truth we know." "And what truth is that?" she whispered. "That we matter to each other," he said. Quietly, honestly, no matter who's watching. Tears filled her eyes. "You make it sound so simple." "Because it is," he said. "When the noise fades, only the truth remains." She stepped into his arms then, and he held her tightly, like he was protecting something fragile but strong. The wind brushed past them. Below, the city roared, but up here, in each other's arms, they found stillness. "What if this ruins things for me?" she asked against his chest. "For us?" He pulled back just enough to look her in the eyes. "Then we build something stronger." She smiled through her tears. "How are you always like this?" "Not always," he said. "But with you, I want to be." They stood there for a long time, not speaking, just breathing the same air, sharing the same fear, holding the same hope. Later, as they walked down from the rooftop, they didn't make any promises. They didn't need to. They had already chosen each other once, in the rain. Now, they were choosing each other again, in the storm. And sometimes that's all that matters. When silence speaks louder, the next few days tested them more than either expected. Ana's management team pushed hard. Calls came every hour, each one more urgent. They wanted her to release a polished video. Well-lit, rehearsed, soft smile, deny everything. Say she and Keanu were just old friends, that she was focused on her career, that the photos were misunderstood. But Ana couldn't bring herself to do it. She stared at the camera for an hour, trying to say the lines they gave her. But every word felt false, like sand in her mouth. She turned off the recording, again and again. Meanwhile, Keanu faced his own kind of pressure. A director he deeply respected called him personally. The message was clear: stay out of the headlines, stay away from distractions. The film needs your image clean. But Keanu didn't believe in playing clean for people who didn't play fair. He met Ana again in their quiet cafe, tucked in the back corner where no one disturbed them. She was wearing a simple gray sweater, no makeup, eyes tired. "They want me to lie," she said, voice shaking. "Say that night never happened, that you weren't standing in the rain for me." He looked at her with quiet strength. "Do you want to lie?" She shook her head. "I just don't want to lose everything I've worked for." He reached across the table, took her hand. "You won't lose yourself. Not while you're still telling the truth." She blinked, unsure if she could trust that. "The truth doesn't pay bills," she whispered. "No," Keanu said, "but it lets you sleep at night." A long silence stretched between them. She looked out the window, watching strangers pass. None of them knew what she was feeling. None of them knew the cost of every word she was being asked to say. "What if I walk away from everything?" she asked suddenly. Keanu didn't flinch. "Then I'll walk with you." Her lip trembled. "You would?" "You're not a brand to me," he said. "You're not a headline or a rumor. You're a person, and people are worth walking beside." Ana looked at him for a long time. In his face, she didn't see fear. She saw calm, not because life had been easy for him, but because he had made peace with who he was, no matter the world around him. "I wish I was as strong as you," she said softly. He shook his head. "You are. You just forgot." They left the cafe hand in hand, not hiding, not running, just walking. But the media wasn't done with them yet. A new rumor spread, this time crueler. A fake voice recording surfaced, claiming to be Ana saying she was using Keanu for attention. It wasn't real. Anyone who knew her could hear it, wasn't her voice. But strangers online didn't care about facts. They cared about fire. The comments turned nasty. Threats, insults. Strangers saying things no human should ever say about another. Ana saw it all. And one night, it broke her. She sat in the dark of her apartment, staring at the glowing screen. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't answer. She didn't move. Her body was frozen, her mind filled with noise, until she heard a knock at the door. Soft. Familiar. She opened it slowly. Keanu stood there with a thermos of tea and a tired smile. "I had a feeling," he said. She didn't speak. She just stepped aside and he entered. They sat on the floor back against the wall, knees touching. He poured the tea into 2 cups and handed her one. "You don't have to say anything," he told her. "I just wanted to be here." And that silence, that gentle shared silence, said more than words ever could. After a while, she leaned against his shoulder. "I'm scared of becoming someone I hate," she said. "Then stay close to someone who reminds you who you are," he replied. Ana closed her eyes. The tea warmed her hands. His presence warmed her heart. Outside, the city screamed, but inside that quiet apartment, the storm paused. Because sometimes, healing doesn't begin with loud declarations. Sometimes, it begins with showing up and staying. The whisper the world heard the morning after. Ana didn't wake up in her bed. She woke up on the floor, still wrapped in a blanket, head resting on Keanu's shoulder. The half-drunk tea sat beside them, now cold. Soft light filtered through the curtains. Outside, the city was already moving again. But inside, something had shifted. Something quiet. Something strong. Keanu was still there, exactly where he'd been the night before. His eyes were closed, but his breathing was calm. Steady. Like he had made peace with the storm. Ana sat up slowly. Her body was sore, her heart even more so. But there was something new in her chest. Something that felt like resolve. She looked at him and whispered, "Thank you." He opened his eyes. "For staying." "For seeing me," she said. They had breakfast in silence. just toast and fruit. Nothing special, but it felt like the most real meal she'd had in weeks. When she finished, she walked to her small desk, opened her laptop, and turned on the camera. "Are you sure?" Keanu asked from the kitchen. "No," she said. "But I'm ready." She didn't wear makeup, didn't set up lights. She sat in her sweater, hair loose, eyes raw from days of tears. And she spoke, not to defend herself, not to attack the lies, but to tell her truth. "This is not a denial," she began, voice soft but steady. "This is not a carefully written message. This is me, Ana, and I'm tired of being quiet." She spoke about the photos, the rumors, the pressure to lie, the fear of losing roles. But more than that, she spoke about the quiet strength she found in one man who never once asked her to be anyone else. "He waited in the rain," she said. "He didn't ask why. He didn't try to fix anything. He just showed up, again and again. And for the first time in a long time, I felt human again." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "You can say what you want, twist what you see. But don't mistake my silence for shame. I'm not ashamed of knowing someone who reminds me that kindness still exists in this world." She ended the video there. No dramatic goodbye, no prepared smile, just truth, hanging in the quiet. She didn't post it right away. She showed it to Keanu. He watched the entire thing without blinking. When it ended, he looked at her, not with pride, not with pity, just warmth. "It's you," he said. And that was enough. Ana posted the video an hour later. It spread faster than any rumor, not because it was scandalous, but because it was real. Millions watched it, not just fans, but strangers who had never cared before. Actors who'd been afraid to speak, people who'd been hurt by lies, those who had forgotten what truth even looked like. The reaction surprised everyone. Instead of hate came support. Instead of noise came understanding. Instead of judgment came love. Messages poured in, not from media houses or gossip sites, but from young women, from quiet artists, from single mothers, from lonely people who just needed to hear that honesty still had a place in this world. Keanu didn't post anything. He didn't need to. His silence had spoken long before the video did. The next day, Ana walked into a studio to audition for a new film. The director paused before she entered. "I saw your video," he said. "Thank you for being human." She smiled. "I wasn't trying to be brave, just honest." "That's braver than most," he replied. She got the role, and something changed in her that day, not because of the job, but because she had finally chosen truth over fear. Weeks later, she and Keanu walked into a small film screening. The lights were dim, the room quiet. They sat at the back, fingers brushing gently. No cameras followed. No reporters asked questions, and yet someone behind them whispered, "Is that them?" Another voice answered, "Just let them be." Ana turned to Keanu, eyes full of emotion. "Do you still remember what you said that night in the rain?" she asked. "Every word," he said. "Say it again," she whispered. He leaned closer, just like before, and in the soft dark of the theater, where no one else was listening, he whispered the words that changed everything. "I was never waiting for a conversation. I was waiting for you." She smiled through quiet tears, this time, she believed. It completely. Because this time, she had chosen to believe in herself too. And when the lights came up, they didn't let go of each other's hand. Not because they had something to prove, but because they had already proven what mattered most. They had stayed. They had seen each other, and they had whispered truth loud enough for the world to finally listen.